Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Windshield Time, the podcast where we help you use your windshield time to turn learning into earning. Windshield Time is brought to you by Service Excellence, of course, and I am once again joined by my good friend, Brando. No, not that Brando. Brando Calrissian, the Brandalorian, Brandon Cockrell. And on this episode of the podcast, we're talking about the people are the priority. Don't go anywhere. Mexican party bangers, Brandon.
I like it.
That's my new preferred playlist. Have no idea what they're saying. Don't know the names of any of the songs, but I'm pretty sure Shakira's on there.
Yeah. I like it.
What is your playlist for working out?
It depends. Like literally, Zach Top just dropped a new album the other day, and so I was listening to country music. Like,
don't know who that guy is, but okay.
Yeah, he's a new country artist, but he's truly country. So he plays like, it all sounds like 90s, like Alan Jackson and stuff like that. That's his.
So there's steel guitars focus in it.
Yeah.
Fiddles. Not violins, fiddles, to be clear.
Right. No. Yeah. If you're going to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band.
Yes. Alabama.
Interesting enough, played by Alabama.
I know.
Doesn't
Juxtaposition. That's what makes it cool.
Right. Yep.
Okay. I can't do country music while I'm working out.
It just depends.
No, I can't. I gotta be like AC/DC. Well, that's what I used to be.
Rock, metal.
Well, yeah, like Enter Sandman, Metallica. You know, I gotta have that going. But Stone Temple Pilots is a good one.
Yeah. STP,
baby. Anything from Pearl Jam's first album.
Even Flow.
Alive, Even Flow, Once. So I still like that, but the Mexican Party Bangers playlist at the gym, I don't know who put it together.
That'll get your heart rate going before you even start working out.
But it's so cool because you're working out and you're motivated and you have no idea what they're saying. At least I don't have any idea what they're saying. And I find myself moving a little bit between sets and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, Alex, delete that. I don't want anybody to see me even try to whatever that was I was doing. But yeah, it's pretty cool, I got to admit. Tempo's always up. The other day I found my heart rate was the exact beat of the music.
Now that's
exactly. Talent. Exact beat of the music. I don't think that's an accident, Brandon.
No. There's actually a movie about techno and EDM music that the goal is to actually, when they build the music, is to rise with the heartbeat as people start to engage in the music and everything. And so there's a lot of like research done on how they transition from these lower and slower beats.
I think you are thinking of Trolls World Tour.
No, that was a good one though. That was a good one.
Yeah. Alex, was that a good one? I got the from Alex. Yeah. Alex, can you give let me do this. Alex, raise volume. Brandon, talk.
Yeah. How we doing?
Okay, I got a little more volume. I did what I do to my Alexa, and it worked. Alex is my Alexa. Just you drop an A, and it's Alex.
Yeah, there you go.
Alexa, coffee, cream. That didn't work.
No.
That didn't work. So the people are the priority, Brando. So today we're going to talk through how, as technicians, a lot of times, I know I'm guilty of it, as technicians, a lot of times we go and we get target fixation, which is we're thinking of fixing it. We're not thinking about the people. We're not thinking about how they live with it. We're not thinking about emotions or any of that stuff. We're target fixation. We need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got a good way to visualize this. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a good analogy. And, and I've
hold
asked
on a
several
second.
of my.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Alex Walker is our producer, and he is actually a card-carrying cinematographer. I don't know what that means. He does something with cinema and photography and cameras. I imagine. So he's done. How many movies have you done, Alex? He's shot 8 features films. Now, Brandon, when you give this analogy, there's an iconic scene from a movie. Well, there's an iconic movie about this analogy.
Backdraft?
I think you're going to give. You don't say it because I was going to
Oh, I
challenge
didn't know.
Alex, the guy who's made 8 feature films who never knows movies, to give the title. But now he's heard
My
you
bad.
say it. Well, let's see if he didn't hear it. Okay, tell it, Brandon, because this is a really good analogy about our topic.
So I've asked several of my technicians, my groups, and I said, hey guys, what is the main focus, the number one goal, the purpose of firefighters? And oftentimes the answer I get is to fight fires. And the answer couldn't be more wrong. The number one goal
Did you
of
say
a firefighter.
everything you said was wrong? Amazingly, everything you just said was wrong.
Everyone in this world is now dumber from having listened to everything that you've had to say. No, the point is that the number one goal and the objective for firefighters is to save lives. That's their number one goal. Fighting fires is a secondary objective in anything that they do, whether it's a car crash, it's a house fire, they're saving a cat out of a tree. It's saving lives first. And so I use that analogy to show our technicians how they are running right past these homeowners and attacking the problem, which is the fire, and they've left this person alone, which makes no sense.
That's true. Now, anytime you talk about firefighting, there's only one movie to think about. And when you see this movie, man or woman, you want to be a firefighter.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you're ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
Alex, professional cinematographer who has shot 8 feature films, what movie are we talking about? He has no idea. He literally just said he has no idea.
Well, now he's got homework.
Alex, it is Backdraft. Did you Google it? He Googled it.
Kurt Russell.
If you do not want to be Bull from Backdraft after you see that movie, a firefighter, you do not have human blood in your veins. That's just an absolute fact, isn't it?
I'm going to co-sign it.
Wait, you've never seen it? Alex has this list of movies. How many movies are on it, Alex? How many? 50? Probably more than 50. I've given him 40.
Right.
It seems like over the years, over the last, 6 months, I've given you 40 at least. So yeah, but that's a good analogy too, is because, and I know it's dramatized. That's why it's a movie. It's highly dramatized. Sure. And I'm sure if we had a firefighter on here, a firefighter would say, well, there's more to it than that. And we're not trying to make it oversimplified or simplistic, but at the end of the day, like my brother's a paramedic EMT, and he's been since he was 17 years old, he's been doing that. And it's not about necessarily driving the ambulance. It's not about, stopping the bleeding, although those are technical things that he does.
Right.
It's about saving the person, right? It's about rendering the emergency medical procedures necessary to save the life. It's not about the procedures themselves. It's about the sum total of it and saving that person or getting that person to a emergency room where they can be saved, or they can whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're not trying to oversimplify it, but I love the analogy because if we go in and we think it's about the fire, there's no emotions with a fire. You know, it's like technicians. There's some technicians. There's a lot of technicians out there that do a great job taking care of the people. There's not a technician out there that doesn't care about, at some level, taking care of the people in the house. It's about what priority is placed on that, I think. And so I've mentioned it many times on here before, and I've talked to plumbers, electricians, other HVAC technicians. When I went through apprenticeship school, I got 3 hours in 4 years. I got 3 hours of training on customer service, and it was the worst. I got more training on plate welding than I did on customer service because the union had put it in to sanction the training. The union had to have plate welding in it because that's what they required. And I think what you find is a lot of training and stuff, a lot of apprenticeship training is based on not on residential service. It's based on installation and in general service and maintenance, but not residential. And I think that, you know, when we look at the training that comes out of some of these programs, a lot of it's just to get people ready to do installations. It's not making people ready to do service or anything like that. And, you know, in every company, there are roles. There's roles in a company for people who just want to sell. There's roles for people in a company who want to do both. And there's roles for people who just want to fix it.
Right.
And everybody has a role to play, and they are going to gravitate to the role they play the best. But the most common role in a residential service sales or service maintenance and replacement company is the one who can do both. And so the installer, for instance, they're focused mostly on the fire, right? Because the salespeople take care of the people, right? Salespeople, some people think, are only about the people and not about the fire, here, so to speak, right?
Installers.
If you ask the installers. And then you have service technicians who seem to be about both the people and fixing it. But I think if we localize it, most of the time, a technical person wants to do technical things, right? And I just talked to, I'm trying to think who I talked to. I can't remember who I talked to. Oh, I was talking to potential new client. I think he's going to come on board, but he was a captain in the Canadian Forces. So he's an officer. And we were talking about training his team. He owns a plumbing company now that he bought. It's a second generation plumbing company that he bought because he wanted to be in the trades after getting out of the military. Or he was in the corporate world and he got into it. Super smart guy, going to be a great client. And he wants to take care of his people and he wants to provide training. And one of the things he knows that can be a problem is the training we will do is going to be more about communication, sales, process training, not about technical training. He had questions about what is that like? What's it going to do? Is it going to be effective with them because of this? And I was like, well, you know, I know because I haven't served, and thank you to everybody who has served in United States Armed Forces, or any armed forces really. But specifically, I've had a lot of sailors working for me over the years. I've had Marines working for me. My brother-in-law's a Marine. I've had plenty of owners that worked with who are Marines. And I'm sorry, I can't say this about Army or Air Force because I just don't know. But I know that through knowing so many people in the Navy, that a sailor's first job is as a firefighter because you don't want to fire on a ship. So all of them know how to fight fires on a ship. And of course, every Marine is a rifleman first. And I was talking to this guy and I've used it in the past with other people that are former military, is that think about what the first thing you do is you break down a person and you turn them into a Marine. And the first thing you teach them is how to be a rifleman. And you drill and you drill and you drill, and they are riflemen first. Okay. Well, then the next thing you do is send them to some academic school or some specialization school for whatever their MOS is. And then they have to learn that. But in so doing, the armed forces have created a situation where they integrate the fact that the Marine is a rifleman first, and they're teaching them now something different than their base programming, right? And they're good at it, right? And so what we do with technicians is like in my case, I was just trained technical stuff. I'm sure if you've come through an apprenticeship program or union-based training program, it's all technical stuff. That's all it is. There are some programs out there, like some of these, and I'm going to use the term residential, meaning you go there and stay, but there's residential type learning facilities all around the country where you can go and spend 3 weeks living on site in a dorm and spending, 10 hours a day in study and lab work. Okay. And some of those have training. And I know Linux had a program, Build a Tech or whatever it's called, where they spent more time on that. And there's plenty of that stuff around. It's good that it's out there. It's absolutely good that it's out there. Obviously we do it, but most of the programs are only technical. And so what we're doing is we're turning out people who are technical first, just like firefighters. Firefighters learn fire science first. Fire science. Doctors, what do they learn first? Medicine. They don't learn a bedside manner first. They get taught that.
Right.
But I would be willing to bet you it's a small fraction of their overall training, just like the small fraction of my overall training was customer service, like most people who came through a technical training program. And so what happens is to take that person's primary program in a crisis is going to override any other programming, right? And so
default.
What's that?
Default.
Yeah, they're default programming. That's what happens. Right. Alex, have you seen The Hunt for Red October? He said, of course. Crazy Ivan's. Okay, I like that. So what I think of, Alex, when I think of this is where Jonesy was saying to the captain, he was telling him his theory, and he goes, so these computers on these submarines were trained to look for seismic anomalies, and so I think when they get confused, they run home to mama and go back to their base programming. Right? You remember that scene? Do you remember that, Brandon? No, not really.
I don't know if I remember exactly that scene.
But the reason I remember that is I seem to remember a lot of things from movies, but I remember that because it applies to this, in that a technician's base programming is technical installation, service, maintenance, repair, right?
Uh-huh.
So in a crisis, they're going to go back to that because that's their instinct.
Right.
It's
comfortable.
And so now we arrive here where, okay, we get a call out to a house. Firefighter gets a call out to a house. What is their job? Their job is not to put out, they're going to put out the fire, but they're doing it to save lives because they understand how it affects the people in the structure. Uh-huh. And I think your analogy is apt because when we get called out because someone's got a leak, someone's got a clog, someone has got flickering lights, or someone has no air conditioning, no heating, we can see a crisis there. And because we have this base programming, we activate. Base programming activates. So what do we got to do? How do we handle it? How do we make sure we're focused on the people and how they live with the system we're working on?
Well, I think one of the things that we have to go back and look at our track record, right? And I guarantee you, anybody who listens to this podcast as a technician is going to recall situations where they did a 100% great, perfect diagnostic. They built great options for the customer, and the customer decided to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They walked away from it saying, I got to get a second opinion. I'm going to go talk to somebody else about it. I gotta, I'm worried about my finances, whatever it is. And that's because we stepped by or over the customer to go solve the problem. And we value ourselves based on the ability to do that. But yet we had no connection with the homeowner for them to listen to us.
That's right.
To see what's going on and understand the situation that they're in. So now they're looking for alternatives.
Another way that comes out too, Brando, is I've been in front of customers, done the most thorough diagnostic they've ever seen. I can tell that that's the best one they've ever had done. Go back to them. I explain to them so well. They understand everything, and this is what I get. Thank you. You're the most thorough person that's ever been in our house. You've taught me more about my system than I ever thought I would learn. But thank you. We're going to get a second opinion. Or we need to think about it, or whatever. You get an objection, you can't get past it. Well, what it is they're right. They're telling you the truth. But you never connected with them. You never took the time to understand how they live with the technical thing. And I think that's important. And I think that's why we need to ask the questions up front. And we always, most of the stuff we talk about on this podcast, if we wanted to summarize everything we do on this podcast in one sentence, learn the principles of in-home sales and service and follow them every time. Right? Because what happens if I don't follow press play, I don't implement the principles, then what's left? Just the technical stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm comfortable with that. And you said on a previous podcast, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in communication sometimes until you master it.
Yep.
I think you have to do the uncomfortable things of customer relationship building until you master it, until it becomes part of your routine and those kind of things. Because we're going to run back to our base programming every time. You take a Marine and you put them through whatever Marine boot camp is, 12 or 16, I think 16 weeks. You put them through 16 weeks and they come out the other side. I remember my brother-in-law came out the other side of boot camp back in the 90s, and he honestly believed he was a better human being than everybody else. I think he actually told now his wife when she was his girlfriend that, because he's a Marine. Okay. And he was trained to be a rifleman. Well, he actually he actually worked in I don't know what they call it in the Marine Corps. They're aviators, but gosh, I can't remember what they call it. Squadron, maybe? Anyway, he worked on equipment that worked on airplanes. Diagnostic equipment that worked that diagnosed aircraft, because they also don't call them airplanes; they're aircraft.
Right.
Aviators fly aircraft. Right? Is that right, Alex? Alex said yes. So
Perfect.
Now, if he's out there on the tarmac in his little shack working on something, and we were invaded, his base programming takes over. And he grabs his weapon.
Rifleman.
He's a rifleman, right? Because it's a crisis. And I think that's the key, because, other podcasts will talk about habits and cues and routines and stuff like that. And what happened is basic training groove the routine. There's a cue. You're threatened. Your routine is you're a rifleman. The reward is you defend the country. You defend the guy next to you, kind of thing.
Yep.
So in that case, I'm glad that happens. Right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But in the case of me going in a home where someone has no hot water, that's not a crisis. I mean, it can be a crisis to the customer, right?
Sure.
But my base programming will take over, and that's good. But what really should happen is I should make sure that, okay, let it take over behind the scenes. Let it be there behind the scenes. And what I need to do for the customer is understand, as we've talked about in our communication, are we speaking to them in their language? Do we understand what they need to get out of the conversation so we can move forward? Have we recognized their profile that goes into that? If we've done those things and we're asking the questions and we're learning how they live with it or how they've lived with it in the past and all these kind of things, then we can let our base programming of the technical stuff come out, but we're still remembering the people, because we go back to the firefighter, the people are the priority. Spoiler alert, Alex, I go back to your example of the firefighter. We think of backdraft. Why did certain characters not make it through the final fire? Were they worried about putting out the fire? No, what were they worried about?
People.
Getting the other firefighters out, making them safe, getting the people out of the building, making them safe, right?
Right.
And there's an iconic visual from Backdraft where Bull, played by Kurt Russell, he's in a building and you see him running. Like if you Google Kurt Russell Backdraft, the picture you're going to get is this iconic photo of him. He's got a kid under one arm and he's got his axe in the other arm. He's wearing his firefighter hat and his coat's open, and he's running with this kid out of the flames. Right?
Yep.
Guess what he doesn't have in his hand? Well, you can see what he doesn't have. He doesn't have a hose in his hand. He's not turning water on the flames. Nope. What's he doing? He's getting the kid and getting the hell out of there.
Yep.
Because it's about the kid first.
Right.
So let's save the people, then let's put out the fire. Right? And you can look at it in a couple of ways too, is to further the analogy and hopefully not make it tiresome.
Sure.
Which it might be too late for that, but whatever. I'll blame Alex. You think about it, and if you're an installer, okay, you got a service technician or a salesperson that's been there before, whatever, then you're the guy or girl who's putting out the fire. You're the one who is holding the hose and putting out the fire. If you're the salesperson, your primary responsibility, or you're the one that's locating the people in the house and running out with the kid. If you're the technician, you might be locating the people and running out with the kid, right?
Yep.
But even a service technician, sometimes you're putting out the fire after you do that. And that's the main thing. Think about that. Let's save the people, then let's put out the fire. And saving the people looks like explaining it, doing a thorough diagnosis, explaining your findings in their own language, understanding through the conversation, what they need so you can get through to presenting the solutions and then handling objections. That's all people priority based. It may not seem like it, but it is. Because you're making sure you save the people. Because once you've saved the people, then we can put out the fire. We can do the replacement. We can do the repair, those kind of things. I think of electrical work. And one of the things, when you replace a panel, the power's off for a period of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not saving the people is going to the house and just cutting the power without telling anybody how long it's going to be off or what's going to happen and replacing the panel. Did you do a good job? Did you do a good technical job? Maybe the best technical job ever. I don't know. I can't judge that. But if you didn't tell them you were going to cut the power, you didn't save the people.
Nope.
You didn't give them a chance to go somewhere else to work or get out of the house and be gone and not be caught by surprise by it. So any kind of situation like that is something where even as an installer, you can kind of save the people. But
Chris, I've got a really good example. One of my clients.
You sound like you're going to say, Chris, I got to go.
No. I plan to be here. No, but I have one of my companies really focusing on the people. They have a guarantee for their customers. If you call this company and they can't return hot water If it's a hot water heater, if they can't return hot water same day, then they'll put you in a hotel for free and install next day.
Yeah, that's people first. Also,
People
Brando,
first.
there's no such thing as a hot water heater.
Well, have you seen the one with the bikini on?
Yes, I've seen that. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. If your preferences run that way.
Right.
But that's good, man. That's a good example. And I think that, while the company controls that, I think we have to think, if you're a technician going in a home, you have to think, what are you doing to save the people?
Right.
And another way to say it is, are you making sure you understand how the people live with that system and how they're going to live with it once you do what you got to do?
Right.
Because if you don't, then your solution may be technically correct, but it may not fit the people.
Exactly.
And that's what we have to make sure of, is that the people are the priority here, and we're not getting that target fixation. I was listening to another book on the way in. I won't talk about that one now, but I was listening to another book on the way in, and they talked about a psychological concept of cognitive tunneling. Cognitive tunneling. And in this particular book, they're breaking down what happens, what the psychological effect, or what happened with these pilots in a plane crash after listening to the recordings and taking all the technical data. They're reconstructing it. I know it sounds really dark, but it's not a dark. That part of plane crash is obviously dark, but studying it is, they're doing it for good.
Right.
And what they said was, in this example, the plane's pitot tubes, whatever a pitot tube is, it detects the airspeed. You know what a pitot tube is, Alex? It detects airspeed, and it does it by the force of the pressure in it. You've probably seen them on an airplane before. They kind of stick out the side, and they're like pointed forward. Yep. Okay. Well, they ice up. They ice up all the time, and pilots know that. And so what that means is the computer on the plane doesn't get any airspeed indicator. Okay. And so, but as long as there's nothing else going on, then there's no problem, because when they change altitude or fly into warmer air, they de-ice and they get airspeed indication again. And of course, there's radar that helps them understand their speed too, but the accurate computer-fed data is that. So in this case, the plane lost that information. And when it loses that information, it alerts the pilot, so that the pilot, because it was on autopilot, the pilot can take over if needed, but definitely monitor. So most planes have the pilot and the co-pilot. There's one that's the flying pilot, and one is the monitoring pilot. Okay. Well, obviously the monitoring pilot is watching the flying pilot to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Well, what happened was, in this particular case, the flying pilot got fixated on the fact that the indicator on his screen in front of him, the plane looked like it was tilted one way. One wing was higher than the other. So he stopped looking at the gauges, and he started focusing on that to get the plane leveled off. And in so doing, he ended up pulling back on the stick a little bit, which caused the nose of the plane to go up, which caused a stall warning. This is the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, 32,000 feet. And so he pulled back on the stick. Well, his fixation, he got that cognitive tunneling. The only thing he was worried about was leveling the plane out, even though passengers probably didn't feel any difference. He was seeing that on his screen. And so as a result, he pulled back on the stick slightly, didn't realize he was doing it because he wasn't looking at his altimeter. And the monitoring pilot was looking at all these warnings that were coming up because there was a stall warning. And as he kept pulling back on the stick, the plane crossed over its high altitude limit. Like, it's not supposed to go over above 35,500 feet. And it was above that. And what happened was the plane stalled, it crashed, all this kind of stuff. But what they found was both pilots went into crisis mode and got into cognitive tunneling, where they were only focused on one thing, to the exclusion of all the other feedback. And so by the time they realized what was happening, it was too late.
Too late. Wow.
Now, that's obviously very tragic.
Yeah.
But it's the same situation as, say, target fixation.
Concept. Yeah.
Same concept. And if we're if we get target fixation, we're only looking at fixing the thing, and we forget the people, then we don't get a good outcome.
Yep.
So remember the people. People are the priority. So if you want to know more about this and not talk about plane crashes, reach out to me, 254-733-7109, Elmore at serveextra.com, or you can reach the Brandalorian at
254-749-3867, or at my email, brandon@serveextra.com.
Go to our website, www.serveextra.com, servextra.com. You can find past episodes of the podcast, like and share it, suggest topics, find blogs, other free cool stuff, and check out the dates of our next workshop in November. Brando, the Brandalorian, Brando Calrissian here, he teaches our tech workshop. Brandon, would you like to see people there?
I would like to see everybody there. Sign up.
Yeah, and we have Cabo Bob's for lunch.
Oh, the best.
So good. So good. So, until next time, Brandon, what do we do here at Service Excellence?
We turn learning into earning.
I said I was going to make you sing it. Next time.
I'm thankful that you didn't. Yeah.
Next time. Bye, everybody.